With loads of business advice flooding the industry, it has never been harder to see the path to success. And you can't take action if you don't have clarity. Get clear on the actionable tips and strategies that will help to scale your business here on Masters in Clarity, the podcast that brings you clarity around messaging, business growth, digital marketing, personal development, and the business owner's journey to success. Let's join our guide, the master of turning clarity into action and lasting impact, Dolores Hirschmann.
I met Heather in 2019 at an event with Ali Brown, and I really loved her from the first moment. She is so passionate about the work that she does for helping people become brave, but not from a place of seeking bravery, if that's the word, but from a place of understanding what they're afraid of and leveraging that understanding to conquer their fears to some way, to overcome their fears and become brave. So don't miss this episode with Heather, because I know it's going to be packed with amazing insights and ideas on how to live that brave life. Heather, it's so good to see you again. I feel like we hugged each other for the first and only time in 2019 at Ali Brown's event. And then we've talked a few times and we've seen each other on Zoom. How have you been 2021?
Oh my goodness. Yes. But those were the days back when we could go. I'm starting to go out and do things in person again, but really thoughtfully and slowly. Good. 2020 was strangely a really difficult year, but a really great growth year for my business. But I don't know about you, but for me, whenever I think of something that happened, quote unquote, last year, I'm always talking about 2019. 2020 was like the missing year.
Yeah. And it is funny that it's actually such a milestone year. 2020 is like there's movies around it, right? And that it was such a strange, because it was good for some, not so good for some others, but nobody can say it was not. It was definitely atypical.
Yes.
But let's just jump into, tell us about you. And I always ask the clarity journey, and it's kind of like, quote unquote, the clarity journey, because people on the outside feel or see us that we have all our life, for lack of a better word, together. But how did you get to today in your work?
Goodness gracious, Dolores, that's a big
question.
I don't know if it's a simple question for anyone. So much of my life at this moment and my work at this moment in time stems from making the personal decision to essentially burn my life to the ground and rebuild it. I came out of the closet after a decade of marriage. I got a divorce. I closed a thriving, successful luxury event planning business that I'd had for 18 years and pivoted into speaking and training and coaching and writing, which are all things I'd been doing as part of my event business, but I completely closed that element. And, clarity is such an interesting word choice. We can't have clarity without what I call the 3 R's, which is reassessment, reflection, and resilience. It's part of my Brave method. And it wasn't until I started thoughtfully and intentionally doing that reflection, reframing the moments in my life. How do I really want to feel? Who do I want to be? And then getting up and doing it again, but on my terms, that I had any clarity. I think I was just going down the path that was set in front of me. I was an entrepreneur. Maybe that's the only thing I really did that was, bucking the normal tradition. I realized very quickly out of college that while I worked well with people, I didn't work well for people. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to, and I didn't. I mean, a little.
We have choices and we take them.
I did a little for a couple of years, and then I started my own business. But even then, and this is where our stories are somewhat similar, yours and mine. We talked about this when you were on the Brave Files podcast, which is my show. My business, while I was married, was very part-time. It was successful. It was really successful, but I wasn't working 40, 50 hours a week. I wasn't providing for my family doing that. And all of a sudden I got a divorce. And because I was the one who wanted the divorce for all the reasons, for better or for worse, I said no to alimony, there's child support, but not alimony. And all of a sudden my business needed to provide for my family, just like your situation. And it just did. And people want me to tell them how. And I'm like, I don't know how.
There's some house in any business owner, when you have to scale fast, there's a clarity on non-negotiable. This is what I do for people.
This is true. Yeah.
And you communicate that powerfully. And non-negotiable, you have some systems, you start to delegate, and you kind of stop the creative mind of the curse of the entrepreneur, which is good, but it's hard. And for a little bit, you say, okay, I'm not going to create a new course. I'm going to sell more of what I have. Yeah. So you have a more of rinse and repeat, systematized way. Otherwise, there's no way you can survive.
Well, no, you're right about that. Of course, there are systems, but I will say that it was at that time that I transitioned from one business to the other. So I was building, I was creating new things, and I was learning to do things that not only did I not know how to do, I'd never imagined myself doing. So I was learning, creating, serving all at the same time. So when I say I don't know how, like emotionally and physically, I don't really know how.
No,
we just do.
You just do.
You clarify what you want, you create a plan, and you start, and it changes. It's changed so much in the course of the last 7 years. The journey has been fascinating, and sometimes it's felt great and sometimes it's felt awful, but I never doubted that it was the right journey and the right path.
I love that. And so let's talk about this. What is your work? What do you do, and for whom?
Yeah. Oh, great question. So I'm a success and leadership coach, and I specifically support mostly entrepreneurs, but I do work with some corporate clients as well in understanding. This is what sets me apart, I think, from a lot of coaches. And I have a lot of coaches and I love a lot of coaches, is I work with people to identify what they're afraid of, to understand their fears, to leverage those fears once they have knowledge, and use it to create intentional bravery. So Brave is really my business. Everything that I do is surrounded with this concept of choosing bravely. And when we choose bravely on purpose, I have discovered, both for myself and for all of my clients, we start to choose bigger things. When we recognize our choices are brave, we get a little more gutsy. We have bigger wins and bigger payoffs. And my favorite part is it's absolutely contagious to the people around us.
So here's what I love about your succinctness and clarity in this episode today. And is that a lot of people will say to me, well, I help people figure out their purpose, or I help people figure out where they want to go, or I help figure out what is their unstoppable life. Nice. Hard to do. I mean,
it's big. That's a big concept.
Yeah. And I remember being in a meeting that I wasn't happy with my current situation work-wise. This is many years ago. And what led me to coaching at that time. And someone asked me, what do I want? He said, what do you want? And he brought me to tears, because I knew I didn't want that. The situation I was in, I didn't want that, but I didn't know what I wanted. And so what you're saying is, we are very clear usually on our fears. We're not clear on our biggest path, because our fears are so clear that we don't even give the energy, the mental energy, to dream anything, not even big, to dream for ourselves.
Absolutely. That's absolutely right. Our fears are what keep us small and stuck. But yeah, this idea of not even giving yourself permission to imagine anything different. I don't even want to use the word more, but anything different than what you've got. And this clarity for me came as I was in an unhealthy, loveless marriage to the wrong gender. I mean, there was a lot of layers to that. And there was this very defining moment in my life. I have 4 daughters, and they were pretty young at the time. The youngest was a baby. And we were sitting together. It was a Saturday morning. We were having breakfast. And at that time, every decision I made, Dolores, was fear-based. Everything. What will cause the less trauma? What I won't have as much conflict. I won't have to talk to people. Let's just do this. It won't hurt as much. And I felt myself physically getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And then I looked at the girls at the table and I thought, what would I tell them if they came to me in this situation? If they were feeling the way I'm feeling, what would I want for them? And I knew instantly it wasn't like, suck it up. You made your bed now, live with it. I would say, go do these things. The world deserves you to play big. You get to take up space. You get to be honest and authentic and vulnerable. Make this work for you. And at that moment, I thought, oh no, if that's what I want them to do, I have to show them how to do it. That's what I have to do. But it unleashed me. It switched me just like that, from fear-based to limitless possibility. It switched me from fear to brave. Okay, if my why for doing this is to show them that they can do it too, all right, well, let's figure out how.
I love that. And it, there's no turning back.
No.
And that sucks. The moment you say, I will never again make a choice out of fear, which is what I'm hearing you're saying, what happened next? Like the moment you say, I will not pick a vegetable, I will not pick a food, I will not pick a car, I will not pick a trip, a person, a client, like sometimes we pick a client because out of fear,
Absolutely.
because it's not the client we want, we know that, but they're going to bring money, which is fear. So how does life look like if you are literally going la to your biggest fears?
Yeah, great question. And first I want to say it would be a total lie to say that 100% of the time, at every moment, at every second,
thank you,
I avoid fear. I'm afraid all the time. And sometimes I catch myself making decisions out of fear. When you said food, that might be it. Like this morning, I really wanted to grab a bagel, but I grabbed a nectarine. But the good news was the nectarine was delicious and I felt better about that decision. But, like, the bagel, that's going to sit on me all day. I don't do well with gluten. That's kind of a silly example. But the answer to that question is I have a method. And it's the method that I use to get myself out of that miserable, small, fear-based space, and was able to create this shift, get a divorce, buy my own car, on my own house for the first time in my adult life, in my freaking 40s, right? It was the first time that I was able to run a business on my terms that I loved. I could pitch to clients because I loved what I was doing and I believed what I was doing. And the method is, I now call it the Brave method. At the time, it was just the things that I was doing, but now it has a name and it even has a book that's coming out on October 28th. So I don't know when we're going to air. And the Brave is an acronym. Everything I do is about Brave. Brave is my business. So Brave stands for boundaries, the 3 R's I mentioned earlier: reassessment, reframing, resilience, action and accountability, vulnerability, and then expand and empower. So the first 4 steps can and do go in every sort of order, whatever order you need to take you to the next step of the process. But when you do those 4 things, you end at expand and empower. And choosing bravely allows us to embody expansion and to be empowered, which I just have to say is inside work. No one empowers you but you.
100% inside work, but also I can only imagine, I mean, as entrepreneurs, and some people would say I don't call myself an influencer by no means, but we do influence people,
of
our
course,
clients.
and you are.
But in that role, I love the quote from Marianne Williamson, is that who are we to play small and not give others watching us a chance? I'm paraphrasing, right? Not give others a chance to see someone else play big and therefore get inspired. So it is, and she says, it's our light that scares us, not our darkness, because fear is really comfy.
It's so comfy.
Brave
and I love
sucks.
that you said that fear
Brave
of the light,
sucks.
that fear of the success.
Brave sucks.
Yeah. Brave only sucks before you do it. That's the key, right? So I'm kind of, and I've been using these radical terms, which I'm loving. I was at Podcast Movement back in August and it hit me. I'm like, no, I'm creating a revolution of people who are choosing everyday brave. And so we start by identifying small things that we wouldn't have normally qualified as brave. So some days, we were talking before we started about mental health and children and stuff. Some days, the bravest thing we can do is get out of bed.
Yep.
Some days it's make a phone call or write a pitch or show up on an interview, or, whatever, pick fruit, or maybe not. Maybe the brave thing is to pick a bagel because you haven't eaten in 2 days, like whatever it is. So we're redefining what it means to be brave. We're taking it away from this big, massive action that we've identified as, oh, that thing is so brave. And then we start to recognize there are so many moments, hundreds of moments throughout our day where we consciously and thoughtfully go, I'm going to pick this, and that is going to feel brave. I'm going to allow it to feel brave, because we start that train. That's where we get into we choose bigger, we win bigger, and it's contagious. And the more you do it, the less it sucks.
Exactly. I love that you said that. Yes, I made that choice that day at the breakfast table, or at least an internal choice that changed the trajectory of your life. And every day I practice it versus, oh yeah, I live a great, brave life. Like, no, I'm the queen of clarity. Some people tell me, and some days I'm the queen of confusion, and I confuse me and people in my life, right?
All the time.
It's a practice, but kind of like as clarity or happiness or balance, it's really not a destination. Brave is not a destination. Is that being? Am I leaning towards that, or am I leaning towards that? Is that you're always either walking towards it or away from it.
That's right.
Am I walking in the kind of space of bravery, or am I walking and thinking, I'm acting, I'm feeling from the fear place? It's an energy, and it's out towards, not a rival.
Yeah. And brave is an energy. That's exactly, it's a beautiful way to describe it. And it's constant, and that sounds terrifying, but it's constant awareness of
course.
I have a book coming out. I told you we're still.
What's the name of the book?
The book is called Fuck Fearless, Making the Brave Leap. So hopefully I can curse on your show. But let me explain why. Because we have been fed culturally this notion that we should want to be fearless, that we should want to live without fear, that will make us better or stronger. And it's not true, and it's not viable either. Fear is a natural human emotion. It saves our lives. It keeps us from walking in the middle of the street instead of on the sidewalk, right? We want to normalize fear. We don't want to be ashamed of it. We don't want to be afraid of it. We don't want to hide from it. We also don't want it to own us. Mm-hmm. And so I think fearlessness is for sociopaths and 3-year-olds, and I call bullshit on it. And so I am a big personality, and I love the F word a lot. And so I'm like, well, let's just go there with the book. But the idea is I want you to pick bravery over fear and over fearlessness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, bravery, it's like black and white. You cannot have white without black. If you become fearless, meaning you remove fear from your life,
you can't be brave.
You remove bravery.
That's right.
Because then chances are you're actually living in fear. And
of course you are.
And you're not calling a spade a spade.
Yeah. It's not possible. And the people who say, oh, I'm so fearless, it's just a misuse of words. It means they're gutsy. It means they're brave. It doesn't mean they don't ever have it.
Yeah.
And there's so much shame attached to fear. So much externally and internally. Oh, we feel so bad. And a lot of my brave work is around surrender. That's where I was going with that. Starting with the book. We're working hard. We're finishing edits. We're going to sending it to the printer this week and finalizing the cover. And it's really exciting, but I'm going to hit a point where, as far as the actual book itself goes, it's time to surrender. It's no longer within my control. What's in my control at that point is getting my launch team out.
Or how you feel about it.
How I feel about it. That's it. Right. And my partner had a book launch yesterday, which was awesome. And it was exciting. And she hit bestseller in 5 categories.
Good timing, both of you.
I know, right?
Busy week.
5 weeks apart. 5 weeks apart. And she was just so anxiety ridden the last couple of days. And I'm like, but babe, it's all done. The work is all finished now. All you have to do is celebrate and enjoy. And celebration is a huge component. I talk about it a lot in the book. It's a huge component of bravery to me, is acknowledging those moments where we've chosen bravely, where we've done this work. And and honor ourselves and love ourselves for it and bring community in, because celebration begets celebration. It's brave.
It's brave. It's brave. So what are you excited most about this year? This coming 12 months?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's
Other than
fascinating.
the book in a few days.
Very excited about the book. Very excited about the book. Again, I don't know when this is going to air, but I don't know if you know this or not, Dolores, but this day today that we're doing this interview,
September 22nd.
September 22nd, there are 100 days left in the year 2021 from today.
Oh, really? Exactly 100.
Exactly 100.
I gotta have a plan. Like I'm running out of
I
time.
felt about it too. Like, wait, what are we doing?
Things I want to do this year. I gotta have a plan.
or reassess, or kick it off your list, or get going.
Surrender.
Or surrender. Yeah. And you can surrender with a plan. Don't forget, you can surrender with a plan. Surrender isn't inaction. It's just detaching yourself from results. Yeah. But for the next 12 months, I have some big stuff coming. In January, my company, my team and I are producing a 2-day event, a workshop. It's not a summit. There aren't a bunch of speakers, but we're teaching the Brave method, and we're doing live coaching and breakouts, and everyone's getting these gorgeous packages with workbooks and some swag and some fun things. We want it to be as immersive of an experience as possible for being virtual, which it will still be in January. We are up-leveling my group program, which is called Intentionally Brave Entrepreneurs. We're now going to have, in January 2022, we're going to have 2 tracks, one for new entrepreneurs and one for experienced entrepreneurs, which we had previously been focusing on experienced. Now we're going to offer a track for both. I'm onboarding 3 new coaches onto the team. They've all gone through my program, and it just feels exciting. We're leaning into that expansion because we have really been listening to what the community wants, asking good questions, getting lots of clarity on what's going to feel good and how do we build this? Like, if we want this result, what things need to happen? And we're in this huge planning phase right now. It's exciting right now. It's terrifying because my team has tripled in the last month. So we're onboarding, which is so much work. I keep reminding myself, like, this is so painful because growth is painful.
SOPs, baby, SOPs.
So many SOPs. I know. So many SOPs, and we're creating them because they're jobs that, me and the one other person on my team were doing.
Yeah.
So we didn't really have the SOPs because we were just doing the things.
Entrepreneurs don't do SOPs. The team.
This one does. Now we have so many, but it's a growth process that's really, really uncomfortable and painful and brave. But then I know we're so close. We're just weeks away from getting this part done and having things up and running so that we can move to the next phase. And I just like to remind everybody that I do this too. Like the things that I coach and train on and mentor on, I do this too. I walk this walk. I get you. I feel your pain. And it's worth it. And we can do hard things.
Yeah, we can definitely do hard things. So, one action you want listeners to walk away with?
Love that question. I would love to have your listeners look at their day and think about which things could feel brave to them that they might not have previously identified as brave, and then celebrate those choices.
I love that. Love that. I don't do that enough. I think I am brave every day, but I don't.
I know
I
you
don't
are.
recognize or celebrate. Where can people find you?
Absolutely. I am easy to find. The website is vickeryandco.com. I'm at Vickery and Co on Instagram and Twitter. You can find me on LinkedIn, although I'm not there very often, just full disclosure. Facebook at Vickery and Co. Yeah, easy. I'm easy to find. My kids think I'm a celebrity because if they type in my name, I pop up on Google, but it's really just good SEO. So.
You're a celebrity. Any parting thoughts?
Yeah. I said something a minute ago that I believe and I mean, and you resonated with it. We can do hard things. I want to just say right now, we are all experiencing collective trauma, and we're all still doing hard things in the midst of the collective trauma. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is nothing, is pause or rest, take a break, say no.
Be kind.
You can do hard things, but you don't have to do them every second of every day.
I love that.
And that's brave.
I love that. Thank you so much, Heather, for showing up.
Thank you so much
Bravely.
for having me.
I just had an amazing time with Heather. Not only, I hadn't seen her for about a year, but she's working in she's doing such amazing work in her business. She's launching her first book. She is growing her team, and she's really tapping into her ideal clients, which are business owners and entrepreneurs, and helping them understand their fears so they can journey in their path of brave, of becoming and being brave. Her story is inspiring. She has a great methodology with the word brave, and I think you would love some of the tips and insights she shares in our episode together. So don't miss it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Masters in Clarity. If you loved today's show, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Share this episode with 2 people in your world, and as a gift, go to mastersinclarity.com/free to download free clarity resources. Join your host, Dolores Hirschmann, next time to continue forging a clear path to your impactful success.